Oklahoma State hasn't won a conference football game since 2023. Could it take the interim, Doug Meacham, to head down to Arizona and finally make that happen?
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at AllDayOState. Today, we're partially brought to you by Mazda. Make everything move forward with Mazda, like our players that sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for the highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, where you can move and be moved. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cruise our way right on through this one. Can Doug Meacham do something spectacular to make a W happen in Arizona? It is crazy to think that we haven't won a conference football game since 2023, when typically we're in the middle of a conference title race. This is foreign territory for Oklahoma State, which is precisely why you saw the Cowboys move on from the legendary coach Mike Gundy. We had to set the example moving forward that what was happening was unacceptable. Now we get the opportunity to potentially launch into a new era. Doug Meacham could potentially be the coach that gets Oklahoma State its first conference W. And at least we finally have some hope. There was enough offensive creativity this previous week to at least make Baylor play some semblance of honest defense. And because of that, we were able to put some points up on the board. Now, naturally, we might be out a few different people this ballgame, but so is Arizona, which we're going to get to. I do think that Arizona should likely win this ballgame, but we just witnessed this previous week an offensive attack that had a pulse. Now we remove Todd Grantham as the defensive coordinator, and we could likely see the same thing. It is possible that Clint Bowen has been chomping at the bit for an opportunity to put together yet another game plan that could launch himself into his future job. That's the thing. If Doug Meacham is auditioning for the head coach at Oklahoma State, this would go a long way. I would venture to say that if Doug Meacham wins 3 or 4 conference football games this season, then he needs to be into serious consideration territory for being the next head man in Stillwater America. Right now, that seems to be an uphill climb. But I think the first week of the performance and the subsequent press conferences after that have been really refreshing. Doug Meacham has handled himself pretty well. He finally did something offensively with Sam Jackson in the backfield and Zane Flores getting comfortable for a little over 230 yards. Trent Allen toting the rock effectively for a couple touchdowns and driving us up and down the field a couple different times. Shamar Rigby has almost a 90-yard day after largely being a reserve individual this season. And defensively, we got to see more guys out on the football field that we haven't seen more often than not this season, and Trip White and Armstrong Nodum. That was a breath of fresh air to see. I think Cam Smith had a pretty nice day. This is going to be an opportunity, once again, to see some different guys, maybe a LaDainian Fields. We know we have a couple transfers to the safety position. So does that mean Jacoby Oliphant kind of takes some of that role, or is he going to gravitate more towards the linebacker role? Regardless, we finally have some optimism, or as I like to call it, we have some hopium permeating through the fan base in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And this is one of those deals where all bets are off, right? The expectations are low. Therefore, this is a good moment for Doug Meacham to make something crazy happen. And in addition to the Baylor matchup, we looked pretty competent offensively, and that was without the full week of Doug Meacham actually implementing the things that he wants to see done. So if it's going to be different iterations of the quarterback position, or we're going to sprinkle things into the backfield, or we're going to add some more motions and reverses, whatever the case may be, we're going to have to go steal some wins throughout this course of this season if Doug Meacham is going to make a case for him being the next head coach at Oklahoma State. If we continue to see some of the improvements that we have seen, I think it's fair to start, tiptoeing in the territory of Doug Meacham at least being retained by the next staff. And we know for a long time, Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State were pretty synonymous with implementing some of the former staff into the new coaches that were coming on board. We tried it this way with the defense coordinator, Todd Grantham, bringing in all of his own dudes. And although it looked fun, it looked exciting, it looked promising, it fizzled out very, very quickly. And we took a gamble on a decent number of transfer portal dudes. And unfortunately, most of them have not quite panned out. So there is reasons for excitement here in this ball game that we hadn't had coming into the Baylor game. After seeing enough stuff on Baylor to give us a little bit more hope, it is a possibility that Doug Meacham could reach into his bag of tricks and offensively make some creative things happen. Because this is an opportunity. Again, we're going to continuously cover all of the different coaching projections and who's going to be at the tops of the Vegas odds to be the next head man at Oklahoma State. And Doug Meacham so far hasn't really been talked about a bunch as being that next guy. So for him to make the case for himself that he could be, it's got to start this weekend. Seeing some positive stuff against Baylor was encouraging. Now we need to flip encouraging on its head and win this ball game. You can't even necessarily call this a trap game for Arizona because, they have a lot of talent, but they're not exactly at the forefront of competing for a conference title. They're going to have some deficiencies that we should be able to take advantage of, which we're about to get to real quick. Before we do that, I have to remind you all that you can move and be moved by Mazda. For those that believe it's not just about playing the game, it's sometimes about redefining it. Those are the moments that do more than just simply put points up on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. I think throughout some of the players that we've highlighted, Trace Ford, obviously, Brian McCoy, and then Trent Allen, this should be a big moment for a wide receiver. Arizona has a top-notch cornerback. So whether it's a Shamar Rigby or even if it's a Gavin Freeman, this is an opportunity for one of those individuals to make a name for themselves, to make the case that wide receiver U still exists. So with that being said, I'm saying that Shamar Rigby needs to have a big performance. Whenever you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. Shamar Rigby last week is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every single highlight, there's also more to every single Mazda vehicle. Make sure that you go check out Mazda today, where you can move and be moved by Mazda. Get your streak rocking and rolling once again with DoorDash. Have it delivered to you this Saturday because it's almost that time where we look back and talk about this week's MVP, who delivered, powered by DoorDash. And just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it matters most. So let's break it down. For Oklahoma State, we just alluded to it. It's got to be Shamar Rigby. I think offensively, Trent Allen won the MVP. If we're going to look back at somebody other than Trent Allen that might be applicable here, it's got to be Shamar Rigby. Hopefully he can have a big day. Hopefully he can prove that last week was not a fluke. And just like Shamar Rigby delivered for Oklahoma State last week, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with the DoorDash Streaks. You'll save every Saturday on your order. You can stack them up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promotional period goes through November 18th. Do not miss out on your opportunity to keep your streak alive. Have DoorDash delivered right to your doorway tomorrow. All right, now we get to talk about some of the players on Arizona that we need to pay attention to. Naturally, Noah Fafita came into the last season with Tetero McMillan as a combo package that was going to be extremely difficult for everybody in the country to slow down. Tetero McMillan legitimately was arguably the best, if not the second best wide receiver in all of college football this previous season. Arizona still has some dudes that we have to pay attention to, and it also gives us some opportunities. From a team perspective, both Arizona and Oklahoma State are somewhat comparable. Arizona's middle of the conference, number 9 in sacks against, number 9 in sacks by. From an interceptions perspective, they are up there at number 3 in the conference. So we maybe don't need to be airing this thing out all daggone day. And then when you look at the individual dudes on the Arizona squad that Oklahoma State needs to pay attention to, we just mentioned how Noah Fafita is naturally having a pretty good season. Collectively speaking, they have more than enough talent to make this thing interesting for Oklahoma State. On top of the receiving threat and the running threat that Noah Fafita is, In addition to, they have Ismail Mahdi. He is ranked the 4th running back in the Big 12 at the moment, just under 350 yards, 348 for Mr. Mahdi. Of course, Oklahoma State does have Rodney Fields in the top 10 here, with Rodney Fields at 182 yards. Those are both numerically guys that are likely going to want to see an uptick here. We just mentioned him. Noah Fafita is currently 6th in the Big 12. Right now in passing, Noah Fafita is just shy of 1,000 yards at 9,065. He's been pretty efficient. He's been good at manipulating the pocket. He's been good about extending plays. He's been really good about being able to throw across his body and not put himself in a crazy precarious situation. And he doesn't have Tedero McMillan to throw to anymore, but he does have Javon Watley. Javon Watley is currently coming in this ball game with 264 yards receiving on top of a couple touchdowns. He has been able to break it big for an 85-yarder, so he's got the burning speed that we absolutely have to pay attention to. And then you flip over to the defensive side of the ball. When it comes to interceptions, this is a team that has somebody top 10 in the Big 12 in receptions, and Javion Cole. So we need to pay attention to when we're chunking it deep. Even on top of that, the interceptions, passes defended, might be the most telling of all, with number 1 in the Big 12, Genesis Smith at Arizona, is number 1 in the conference with 5 pass disruptions and an interception, 6 total passes deflected very early on in the season. And unfortunately, when you look down Oklahoma State, we don't have any more dudes on that list, but number 22 and number 23 in the conference, 2 more Arizona Wildcats, Aiden Gaines and Gavin Hunter. So we got to pay attention to chunking it deep. It may be a difficult day for Zane Flores. Guys, at the end of the day, they've also got some dudes that can get in the backfield, but they're not all near the top of the Big 12. So they're very reminiscent to Oklahoma State from that standpoint. They're not going to get a ton of pressure. They're not going to get in the backfield a whole lot. However, Deshaun McKnight is somebody who can be very disruptive. He is top 5 in the Big 12 when it comes to tackles for loss. And then tackles in general. Arizona's got somebody that we need to try to schematically find ways to work around. And that's going to be not only Genesis Smith, but I think Dalton Johnson is another Arizona Wildcat that Cowboy Country needs to be familiar with. So naturally, when you look at those matchups, that's, again, why we're highlighting Shamar Rigby. If Shamar Rigby can have a good day against Genesis Smith, that should tell us precisely what Shamar Rigby should be able to do throughout the course of the season, because Genesis Smith is at the top of the Big 12 for a reason. They have some dudes in the upper tier of the interceptions and passes defended department for a reason. Not just one guy. They've got multiple guys in the top 25 in the Big 12. So even if you look outside of that one matchup, I think that it's going to be a very big deal for Wendell Gregory to get back up on the horse and have himself a hell of a ride in this ball game. If we can get pressure on Noah Fafita while also simultaneously keeping contained, I think that is one of the biggest ways that we can control this Arizona Wildcat attack. And Mahdi, if you can at least make life difficult for him to where he doesn't have a bunch of free releases, he is obviously a threat in the receptions game, but he's been an uptick in production from a running back standpoint. And sometimes those shifty backs, as we've seen personally in Cowboy Country, are very difficult to identify if you're a defender in, the front 7. So there's a ton of things that we could be able to accentuate in this ball game. And Arizona, if you can control to some degree Noah Fafita and Watley and Mahdi, that's the 3-headed monster that the Wildcats are going to make their bread and butter with. So if you do find a way to prevent those guys from having massive days, I think that keeps Oklahoma State in this ball game. And anything can happen if you can stretch this game out into, the fourth quarter. If it's a fourth quarter style ball game, then I think it's fair to assume that Oklahoma State could have as good a chance as anybody to finally get this W, to get this losing Big 12 conference monkey off of our back. They've got plenty of talent, but I think we have this uptick right now in trying to play a little bit more inspired football. This could be huge for some safeties. This could be a big moment for somebody like a Jacoby Oliphant or a LaDainian Fields, J.K. Johnson. because the back end of this defense has been a susceptibility. And the linebackers are supposed to carry their weight. And other than Brian McCoy, for the most part, it's been slightly underwhelming. So if we can contain those three primary guys and keep them out of the backfield, you have to like our chances. And I think the creativity in adding the different shifts and perhaps diamond formations and some fun wrinkles with Sam Jackson and Gavin Freeman, those are the things that could keep Arizona on their toes enough to make this more than a competitive football game. Speaking of being competitive, this is time for you to also be competitive. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with brand new Peloton cross-training tread. Powered by Peloton IQ, it's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, this is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. You're going to love how Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form for you, making every rep feel safer, smarter, and better. The swivel screen is obviously a game changer because you can go from running on the treadmill plus strength training without missing a beat. With the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged, you get tailored workouts to your vibe and your energy each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That is onepeloton.com. Go get your grind on with Peloton. All right, keys to victory, we kind of just summed some of it up, but one of the emphasis I would like to see is lean on the run game. They have a good secondary. There's going to be a lot of tests in the back end. I think we saw enough out of Rodney Fields and Trent Hallen out of this Baylor game, and even the athleticism that Zane Forrest was able to display occasionally to keep them honest in the back end. And if we can feed the rock competently, and we can have Trent Hallen and Rodney Fields, and even to some degree, Zane Forrest tote the rock and put Sam Jackson back there and add some wrinkles offensively, that should be able to open up some things in the passing game. Because if we have to come out there and we get behind and we have to start slinging the rock all over the yard, that is a recipe for success. So I think this needs to be a game management style of situation, but a game management style of situation based upon some additives in the backfield. Give some additional eye candy so that we can run the ball more effectively. We've been searching for an identity. To me, the identity clearly against Baylor was that run game. So we need to keep that run game rocking and rolling. To me, that is the only way we're going to be able to open up the passing game enough to be able to get this W down in the desert. Another big thing is getting pressure on Fafita while, more importantly, keeping contained. He can run. He will run. He has the ability to, but it's not necessarily what he's looking to do first. He is looking to pass. He is looking to accomplish some things through the air. We saw a little bit more out of Wendell Gregory this previous weekend. So if the defensive line is going to keep getting guys like Landon Dean and Armstrong Nodum and Adam Kelly and Sidvini Afili Kafusi, if they're going to continuously to be more part of the rotation, this is an opportunity for them to nullify some of the abilities that Noah Fafita has. If you give him a bunch of time or you're terrible at contain, Noah Fafita is going to eat us alive all daggone day. Another big key to victory, in my opinion, is special teams. Our special teams play hasn't been great, hasn't necessarily been bad either. Matter of fact, this previous week, I think that you could have looked at the kicking game against Baylor as one of the highlights, one of the pleasantries. When we're talking about the different options for Sam Jackson in the lineup, hopefully he's going to be able to return, but even if he's not, this is a game for freaky Gavin Freeman to get rolling. And if our defense can live up to some of the expectations set by the offense last week, firing the coach, and now we've done the same thing with defense, then I think it's a possibility that the kicking game will also become a factor. The possessions, the time of possession, the way that you can flip the field and get points, I think it's going to be of utmost importance in this ball game. All right. And before we do finally leave, let's take a peek at the injury report for both teams. For Oklahoma State, we have listed slot receiver DeJuan Lofton out for the game, quarterback Klaus Haney out for the game, offensive lineman Louis Canepa and Markel Samuel both still out, wide receiver Matrell Lopez is out, defensive end Deshaun Brown is out, tight end Oscar Hammond is still out. Doubtful Will Money, Demarion Thomas. Very confident those individuals will not be out there for other reasons, most likely. Questionable Josh Ford, Tajay McCoy, Jaleel Johnson. Not really sure about Tajay and Jaleel. I know they had some stuff kind of pop up injury-wise. And the running back, Freddie Brock, is probable for this ball game. Arizona has 3 DBs out. DeJuan Hinton, Jayshawn Frosto Ramos, Gianni Edwards. Then they have a tight end, Chase Randall, that is out. Offensive lineman, Keona Pete, he's out. Wide receiver, Landon Kelsey's out. 2 tight ends, Kellen Ford and Tyler Powell out. Questionable, Jeremiah Patterson, wide receiver. Another wide receiver, Trey Spivey. Questionable, DB, number 23, Gavin Hunter, and offensive lineman, Ice Mutuata. Probably not doing that last name justice, but nonetheless, this is better than the previous week. Last week, Oklahoma State had like 17 players on this list, so we're cutting it down a little bit. Now, could that be because we got some guys coming back healthy? Yeah. Could it also be that some guys are just entering the portal or plan on it or having a red shirt or something like that kind of pop up? That's possible as well. So more than anything, it'll be worth noting the players that we do see play, and that'll kind of allow us to peek behind the curtain after the game, contingent upon who plays and who doesn't. Make sure you go check out my ex at Aldeo State. Make sure you go check out Keaton as well at OKST Capital. Probs, P-R-O-B-S. Make sure that you get on both of those. Go check us out. We have the ticket giveaway launched, and we're going to cover a little bit more of that this weekend as well. Head on over there. See the ticket giveaway. We've got some pretty cool stuff coming. We've got some pretty fun announcements that'll come with it. I will say this. If you like NBA championships, you're going to be invested in Oklahoma State, hopefully having a night game. Maybe that means we have to cheer on Cincinnati. If so, go Bearcats. We need a night game for homecoming, and that'll make the ticket giveaway mystique a little bit deeper. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. On podcast people out there, you're everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. Alrighty, y'all. Later, taters.